Family was vacationing in Maldives while I, a loser, and paid them for it. Now that they are back, I shocked everyone by saying I'm stopping funding them forever. I'll never forget the moment I saw that photo. It was a random Tuesday, and I was scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break, just trying to pass the time. Kelly, my younger sister, had posted a photo. She was on a beach, holding a bright pink cocktail with a little umbrella sticking out of it. The caption? "First day of winter, Maldives-style palm tree tropical drink." At first I thought I must have read it wrong. Kelly doesn't live near a beach, and she definitely doesn't have the kind of money to fly to the Maldives. Neither do my parents. But then I noticed more details: the crystal clear water behind her, the iconic overwater villas in the background, and the tag location proudly displaying the Maldives. My stomach dropped. It didn't make sense. A week earlier, my parents had called to say they were in a tight spot and needed some money for unexpected expenses. They were vague about what those expenses were, but my dad mentioned something about repairs and bills piling up. I didn't ask too many questions, I just wanted to help. I wired them a few $1,000s, enough to cover whatever they needed and then some. And now this? I stared at the photo, trying to make sense of it all. Was it just Kelly who left? That wouldn't make sense either. She wasn't the type to travel alone. My heart pounded as I clicked on her story. There they were. My dad lounging in a beach chair, my mom posing in a sun hat, all three of them smiling like they didn't care. They were on vacation. To the Maldives. With my money. I called Kelly first. No answer. Then my mom. Straight to voicemail. My dad. Same thing. I must have called each of them 10 times in a row, pacing my tiny apartment. Nothing. I couldn't sleep that night. A mixture of anger, confusion, and embarrassment churned in my stomach. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, the little sob story about needing help. How could they do this? I told myself there had to be some explanation, some reason this wasn't what it looked like. By morning, I'd had enough. I grabbed my keys and got in my car. If they didn't return my calls, I'd find out for myself. Their house was 100 miles away, but the drive felt like no time at all. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my anger was boiling over. I knocked on the door, then rang. No answer. I looked in the windows, dark and empty. They were still in the Maldives. I stood there, feeling like an idiot, staring at the house I'd grown up in. I couldn't believe it was happening. It felt like something out of a bad internet story, not my real life. But it was real, and it was happening to me. As I got back in my car to drive home, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this go. For the next few days I heard nothing from them. It was like they had fallen off the face of the earth, except for Kelly's social media posts. She was still uploading pictures of their paradise vacation. Like nothing was wrong. Every time I saw another post, my blood pressure shot up. There they were, sipping cocktails, snorkeling, and eating lavish meals, while I sat in my apartment wondering how I could have been so gullible. Then, a week later, Kelly finally texted me. We're back. You can come over if you want. No apology. No explanation. Just a casual invitation, as if I hadn't just found out they'd lied to me and blown my money on a luxury trip. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. I needed answers, even if they were going to be angry. I told her I'd be there the next day. When I arrived at the house, it was almost surreal. From the outside, everything looked normal, the same manicured lawn, the same porch swing. But when I walked in, it felt different. My mother was in the kitchen, drinking coffee. My dad was in the living room watching TV. Kelly was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Hey, Kelly said, barely looking up. Hey, I repeated. That's all you have to say to me? My mom put down her cup and gave me a sheepish look. We were going to call you. Things just got a little hectic. Hectic? I said, my voice rising. You were on vacation. In the Maldives. With my money. My dad muted the TV and turned to me. We needed a break, okay? Life has been stressful. You wouldn't understand. I blinked at him, trying to process the sheer audacity of what he just said. So you lied to me about needing money for bills? You made up a sob story just so you could sit on a beach? Kelly jumped in. Look, we knew you wouldn't have given us the money if we told you the truth. You're so frugal. You would have spent the whole time complaining about how expensive everything was, and that would have ruined the trip. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So your solution was to cut me out completely and steal my money to pay for your little getaway? Steal? My mom said as if I had just accused her of a crime. We didn't steal anything. You offered to help. We just didn't tell you what it was for. I laughed, but not because anything was funny. You're unbelievable. All of you. Do you even feel bad? They looked at each other, then at me, like they couldn't understand why I was making such a big deal out of it. Look, my dad finally said. We're sorry if you feel deceived. But what's done is done. We needed this. You'll be fine. You always are. I stared at them, my anger mixed with something deeper disappointment. They didn't care. Not really. That's when I made my decision. All right, I said, standing up. If that's the way you feel, I hope you enjoyed the ride. Because it's the last one you'll ever get from me. I'm done. No more money. For anything. They started to protest, but I didn't stick around to listen. I walked out the door and didn't look back. I thought walking away would bring me some relief, but instead it left me with a gnawing emptiness. I kept replaying the scene in my head, wondering how my own family could shrug off what they'd done as if it were nothing. The next day, Kelly texted me again. Hey, don't be mad, but we need to talk. I ignored her. Then my mom called. I let it go to voicemail. When my dad left me a voicemail, I finally gave in and listened. His voice was calm but insistent. You're overreacting. Let's talk about this. Come over tonight. Against my better judgment, I went. When I walked in, they were all waiting for me in the living room, as if they'd rehearsed an intervention. My mom spoke first. Look, we understand you're upset, but this is not the way to handle it. I crossed my arms. I'm not here to be lectured. What do you want? Kelly pulled out her phone. You need to stop making such a big deal out of this, okay? It's not like we're the only ones who've borrowed money from family. Borrowed? I said. You didn't borrow anything. You lied. Fine, she said, shrugging. We lied. But you're not exactly perfect yourself. That threw me. What are you talking about? Kelly grinned and pointed her phone at me. On the screen was a screenshot of my Venmo history. I'd sent money to someone named Sierra, with a note that read, For the last time. My stomach sank. Sierra was my ex-girlfriend, and no one in my family even knew her. Where did you get this? I demanded. I saw it when I was using your laptop a while back, Kelly said, her tone smug. You helped some random girl and you're mad at us? That's hilarious. My mom jumped in, looking genuinely hurt. Is that true? You gave money to someone else, but you're acting like we're the bad ones? I was too stunned to speak at first. Sierra and I had broken up months ago, but during the breakup she'd hit a rough patch financially. I'd sent her some money to help her get back on her feet, but it was nothing like what I'd given my family. It's not the same thing, I finally said. Really? Kelly shot back. Because it seems pretty hypocritical to me. Maybe you're mad because we spent the money on ourselves instead of some girl. I clenched my fists, trying to control my temper. You can't turn this around on me. I helped someone who really needed it. You lied to me so you could go sip margaritas on a beach. Before anyone could react, something unexpected happened. My dad, who had been mostly silent, stood up and said, Enough. There's more you don't know. I turned to him, confused. What do you mean? He sighed and looked at my mom and Kelly, who suddenly seemed uncomfortable. We didn't just go to the Maldives for a vacation. There was another reason. Kelly cut in quickly. You don't have to tell him that. Yes, I do. my dad said firmly. Then he looked at me. We were meeting someone there. Meeting who? I asked, my voice sharper than I had intended. He hesitated, then said, a potential investor. Someone we thought could help with the business idea we've been working on. I blinked at him. Business idea? Since when do you have a business idea? My mother spoke up, her voice defensive. We didn't want to tell you because we knew you'd be critical. But we've been brainstorming about a travel business, something to help people book luxury travel at affordable prices. We thought if we could meet the right people, we'd have a shot at making it happen. I stared at her, my anger now mixed with disbelief. So you took my money to fund a pipe dream? Without even telling me? It's not a pipe dream, Kelly snapped. We did research. You should be proud of us for trying to build something instead of just sitting around like losers. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're serious? You didn't even have a plan, did you? Just a half-baked idea and a vacation disguised as a business trip. My dad looked away, his silence confirming my suspicion. I shook my head, feeling like I was about to lose it. You know what? This is worse than I thought. Not only did you lie to me, but you wasted my money on something you couldn't even be honest about. I'm done. Don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me for anything. You're on your own. And with that I left. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. I tried to put it all behind me. I didn't block their numbers, but I didn't answer their calls or texts either. I needed space, and honestly, I didn't think I owed them an explanation beyond what I'd already said. About a week later, though, Kelly showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there with her arms crossed, looking more annoyed than apologetic. Can we talk? She asked. Is this about more apologies? I replied. She rolled her eyes. No. Just let me in. It won't take long. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked in and immediately began pacing as if rehearsing a speech in her head. Look, she began. I didn't want to say this in front of Mom and Dad, but I agree with you. They shouldn't have lied to you. I blinked, not expecting this. Okay, but they went along with it. She sighed. Yes, I did. But not for the reasons you think. They didn't just rope me into the whole business trip thing, they guilt-tripped me, too. Dad said they'd already booked everything and needed me to go so it wouldn't look suspicious to the investor. I thought it was stupid, but they wouldn't let it go. So what? I asked. You're the innocent bystander in all of this? No, she admitted. But I didn't know they were going to use your money for the trip until after we got there. Mom let it slip at dinner one night. She said something like, "Thank God your brother came through for us." That's when I put it together. Her words hung in the air, and for a moment I didn't know what to say. And you didn't think to call me? Or tell me when you got back? I didn't want to get dragged into this, she said. But yeah, I should have said something. I'm sorry. I studied her face, trying to gauge her sincerity. For once, she seemed to be. All right, I said, leaning back against the counter. So why are you here now? Because things are worse than you think, she said. That investor? He wasn't real. Dad found him on some forum, and the guy promised he could connect us with the right people. But when we got there, he started asking for money up front, a lot of money. Dad gave him some of it, but now he's convinced the guy was a scammer. My stomach turned. How much money are we talking about? All they had left, she said quietly. They maxed out their credit cards and used up their savings. That's why they went all in on the lie. They thought if they could convince you to help, they'd have a chance at making it work. I stared at her, stunned. So they're broke now? She nodded. Pretty much. I felt a flicker of something, maybe pity, but it quickly turned to anger. And what do you want me to do about it? Bail them out again? They didn't say that, Kelly replied. But knowing them? Probably. I just thought you should know what's really going on before they come begging. I shook my head. Unbelievable. They can handle the mess they made. I'm done being their safety net. Kelly hesitated, then said, I understand. I really do. But you're going to have to talk to them at some point. Why? I shot back. They've made it clear how they feel about me. I'm the guy they use when they're desperate. That's all I am to them. Kelly didn't argue. Instead, she sighed and said, Just think about it, okay? I didn't answer. She left a few minutes later, and as the door closed behind her, I couldn't help but feel that this was far from over. I tried to move on after Kelly's visit. I really did. But her words stuck with me, especially the part about the so-called investor. Something wasn't right. My parents weren't savvy enough to vet a business partner, but draining their savings and maxing out their credit cards? That was reckless, even for them. I decided to dig a little deeper. Out of morbid curiosity, I searched for the name of the investor they'd supposedly met in the Maldives. It didn't take long to find something, a handful of online complaints from people who claimed they'd been scammed. This guy had a reputation for preying on people desperate to start businesses, promising connections he couldn't deliver, and disappearing once he had their money. But then I found something that made my blood run cold. One of the complaints included a scanned copy of a contract the scammer had used, complete with a list of terms and conditions. The victim had posted it as a warning to others. I recognized the signature at the bottom. It was my father's. My heart sank as I read the fine print. Not only had my dad handed over their life savings, but he'd also signed a personal guarantee for the rest of the investment package. In other words, he owed this scammer a lot more money, and the contract specifically stated that failure to pay could result in legal action. And then there was the kicker. In one of the clauses, my father had listed me as a secondary guarantor. I stared at the screen, unable to believe what I was seeing. My dad had used my name without my knowledge or consent to back a fraudulent investment deal. I sat there reeling. If this scammer came after the money, it wouldn't just ruin my parents financially. It could ruin me too. I printed out a copy of the contract and drove to their house that night. When my dad opened the door, I wasted no time. What the hell is this? I said, shoving the paper in his face. He looked at it, his face turning pale. Where did you get this? That's your response? I snapped. Not an apology? No explanation? Just, where did you get this? My mom appeared in the doorway, looking confused. What's going on? I pointed at the paper. Ask him. Ask him why he used my name to guarantee some scam without telling me. Her face fell as she picked up the document and read it. John, what is this? She demanded. My father stammered. I didn't think it would be a problem. The guy said it was just a formality. I never thought it would come back to bite us. You didn't think it would be a problem? I repeated, my voice shaking with anger. You put me on the hook for thousands of dollars. If this guy sues, he can come after me. We didn't know what else to do. My mother said, her voice defensive. We thought this was a chance to make things right. Besides, you're in a better position to handle this than we are. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you just assumed that I would clean up your mess? That I'd be okay with it? My dad tried to calm me down. Look, nothing's going to happen. He hasn't said anything since the trip. Maybe he won't even follow up. I pulled out my phone and showed them the complaints I'd found online. This guy doesn't just let things go. He's scammed dozens of people, and they all say the same thing: he comes after you hard once the payments stop. My mom covered her mouth in shock, and my dad finally sat down, looking defeated. Why didn't you just tell me the truth? I asked, my voice softer now. We were embarrassed. My father admitted. We didn't want you to think we were failures. We thought we could fix it without involving you. I shook my head. You didn't just involve me, you jeopardized my future. Do you have any idea what this could do to me if it goes to court? If it gets on my credit report? They didn't have an answer. For the first time, I saw real regret on their faces. But regret wasn't going to fix this. You have to fix this, I said firmly. I don't care what it takes. Sell the house, sell the car, whatever. I won't pay a cent for your mistakes." My dad nodded slowly, but I didn't stick around to see if they'd go through with it. I left, feeling angrier and more betrayed than ever. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. A week later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from the scammer's lawyer, demanding payment, and they were coming after me and my dad. The letter was my breaking point. I immediately called a lawyer and explained everything. He assured me that since I hadn't signed the contract, I couldn't be held liable. Still, the idea of going to court over my parents' mess was exhausting. I was ready to cut them off completely. But then something unexpected happened. Kelly called me, sounding more serious than I'd ever heard her. "I have an idea," she said. "And before you hang up, hear me out." Reluctantly, I agreed to meet with her. As we sat down, she slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, emails, and other evidence linking the scammer to a number of other fraudulent activities. Kelly had spent hours researching him online, even contacting some of his other victims. "I think we can take him down," she said. At first, I wasn't sure. But the more I looked at the file, the more I realized she was right. This guy had scammed dozens of people, and some of them had already filed complaints with the authorities. We decided to go to the police together. With the evidence Kelly had gathered, they opened an investigation. A month later, the scammer was arrested and his assets were frozen. It turned out that he was running a massive fraud ring, and my parents weren't his only victims. As the case unfolded, my parents received an official notice that their debt was cancelled. They were off the hook and so was I. After everything was settled, my parents sat me down and apologized, this time sincerely. They admitted that they'd let their pride and desperation cloud their judgment, and they promised never to drag me into their financial messes again. I wasn't ready to forgive them right away, but things got better over time. Kelly and I grew closer, working on the case together had reminded me that, despite everything, we were still family. In the end, the experience taught me to set boundaries. I stopped giving my parents money, but I didn't cut them out of my life. I learned that helping someone doesn't mean enabling them, and sometimes the best thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. For the first time in years, I felt free, and that was worth more than any amount of money.